Welcome to Mobile World Congress 2016. I'm Justin Grimsley with VMware, and I'm joined today by Sanjay from VeloCloud. Sanjay, it's good to have you.
It's nice to be here.
Great. So Sanjay, for folks who may not have or may not have heard of VeloCloud, how do you describe it to them, and what do you help customers do?
So what VeloCloud is doing is something very simple. We're taking functions that would reside in a branch office solution, typically in hardware. We're moving those functions to the cloud and running that as a service. So this is applicable for enterprise offices, typically retail, finance, high-tech manufacturing, those kinds of enterprises that have lots of branch offices worldwide.
So as service providers, look at VeloCloud or others, what really differentiates VeloCloud, and what are you helping them to do that really wasn't possible before?
Right, so what the architecture was before was your branch offices would connect up through a private network to your data center. And that architecture has existed for several years, in fact probably a couple of decades. What we've done something completely differently is use cloud and virtualization to take those very functions that were locked up in hardware and we move that to the cloud. Now, what's different about us is that we're not just building a next generation hardware box. We're actually completely disrupting the wide area network by moving those functions to the cloud and using virtualization to get all the scale, the security, and the performance benefits that were not there before.
Great. In this kind of new world we're in, we found that it really takes an ecosystem that comes together to help support customers. So, how is VeloCloud and VMware collaborating to really enable our service provider customers?
Right, so as I said, cloud and virtualization is a basic building block for us. Because with cloud and virtualization, we can take our virtual network functions, also known as VNF, and then we use the VMware vCloud NFV framework, and service providers can then take our SD-WAN, which is delivered as a VNF, combine it with vCloud, and run that as a service for their enterprise customers. So cloud and virtualization gives us the agility, it gives us the flexibility, gives us all the security benefits that you can get from a VNF rather than getting it from a hardware box. So it's actually an essential part of our go-to-market strategy, and we've been working with VMware for about 6 months on this.
Great. And what's been the response so far over this past 6 months and really at Mobile World Congress here this week?
I think the response has been tremendous. In fact, I've been surprised by how well SD-WAN has been received by the market, and in particular at the show. I mean, we've got one kiosk at the VMware booth, but it's been really busy over here. And the reason is that I think the operators themselves are looking at how can they move up the value chain? How can they become much more than just providing transport and connectivity? So you've seen a lot of activity about that on the show. NFV and IoT are taking front and center stage over here, and we are an essential part of where the operators are going.
That's you just given us one example. What are some of the challenges that service providers are facing as they embrace this era that we're in, and how are they using VeloCloud and VMware and other technologies to kind of move their business forward?
So as things are moving to over the top, the service providers are in some ways looking to compete, in other ways looking to really distinguish themselves. And for the longest time, they have really had the customer relationship, they have had the transport and the connectivity solutions, but it's no longer sufficient. So in order to continue to deliver what value they have to enterprises, they have to look at new services to deliver. So it's all about service velocity. How can they get new services? How can they deliver them faster? How can they get more out of the customer's wallet? And that's really what this show is about, and that's what we are about too.
Yep. What's really interesting is I feel like we're just in the first inning of the game.
Yeah.
So as you think about the future, what really excites you about where we're headed as our relationship together and where VeloCloud is going?
Right, so software-defined is about all that we do. Now when we started this company, we thought that software-defined WAN was all about branch office users. But we found out in the last, I'd say, year and a half or so, that it's a lot bigger than branch office users, particularly in two areas. The first area is in mobile devices. So when you have a mobile device, typically you choose whether you're using Wi-Fi or you're using LTE. But with the software-defined WAN, you don't have to. The device can choose itself based on a business policy that you set, and you can use both networks or one network, completely transparent to the end user intervening in that choice and that selection. So we think that's an entirely new market that could get enabled. And then IoT is coming right after that. In fact, we have a couple of service providers that already are deploying IoT on top of software-defined WAN. And if you think about it, with the billions of sensors out there, they need a reliable, secure way to connect to get all their data back to the decision point, and then the feedback control that comes out to those sensors to do whatever control that they have to do. And that can all run on a software-defined infrastructure. And VMware and VeloCloud together can really set the stage for how this world is moving into software-defined WAN.
There's a number of trends, I think, that are impacting this space. What you mentioned, one, IoT, 5G networks, Wi-Fi configurations that continue to improve and become much faster. How can service providers really future-proof their businesses, and how is VeloCloud and VMware and others really helping them do that?
So one of the things that we're doing is we are abstracting the physical transport and we are building an overlay on top. Because if you're really only at the physical transport level, then you're defined by the transport that you provide. But if you provide an overlay solution, then it becomes a lot more flexible and it is software based. So one of the things that the service providers can do to future-proof themselves is to really concentrate on those overlay services, and we are delivering a part of it with VMware. There's a lot more overlay services that the SP would provide, but that's really one way that all of them are concentrating on just that part so that they can deliver additional value to the enterprise.
Great. Well, Sanjay, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, and look forward to seeing you next year at Mobile World Congress 2017.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for giving us the opportunity.